this afternoon. What we are here for is something very important, and I'm very passionate about it. So, in a nutshell, I will be handing the microphone over to one of the moderators, Deacon Dr. Victor Aragon. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not doing this alone. My name is Victor Aragon. I'm not doing this alone. With me this afternoon is Kemi Adewade. Please let's give a round of applause for doing this together. Okay, so this afternoon we are here to have a conversation, of roots and routes. Although, our skin may look the same, but our journey here definitely different. And we know by July 4th this year, this country will be 250 years. And one of the facts that we must recognize is America's history is not complete without our history. And we need to tell and write our own history. So without wasting your time, let's kickstart this program. I would like to call on the chairman board of GVCN, that's the Global Vision Children's Network, the mother of CBI, and no other person than Dr. Bode Ayodele to give opening remarks. Let's put our hands together.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First, I want to humbly appreciate everyone here for taking time to be here this afternoon. We recognize you and we greatly appreciate that. And I also want to put on note the organizers of this program. Honestly, I've been involved in series of programs like this. It's not really easy to get people like you to come over and be part of this discussion. So we greatly appreciate you for coming. I'm Dr. Ayodele Olabode, and I teach at Indiana State University, and I've been with GVCN from day one as the chairman. I've been in as the chairman of GVCN, but I'm back again with the group. So GVCN is a non-for-profit organization, and if I'm not mistaken, it's been on since 2010, almost about 16 years now. And what do we do? I'm just going to be very brief. The vision is to empower kids, youths, to be culturally competent. That was the initial goal. And to be able to accomplish that, we had to come up with programs, different type of trainings for these kids, bring them together to mix, particularly with particular reference to people of color. So just to empower them to be culturally competent. And at a point in time down the road, I just want to commend Mr. Motosho for this initiative. Just like a Lone Ranger, always coming around to initiate projects. Like at a point in time, he came to me and I said, okay, we're moving to another level. I said, which level is that? And he said, we have to start helping the kids with their homeworks. So that over the summer, what can we do? At a point, he came and said, because I'm a public health scientist, he said, what can we do for these kids over the summer rather than sitting at home? Let's bring them together, let them interact, so that they can learn from each other. So we started having some light physical activities, to address obesity and so on and so forth. So, it's a great group, and I want to thank you once again for coming. The CBI is a arm of GVCN. And the little time they've been around, I think they've done well. Last year, I think it's almost last year, I was at the program that was organized by this group. For those of us that were in attendance, it was a fantastic program where some individuals were awarded for their contribution in the African, their contribution to the growth of the African community in Indianapolis or in Indiana as a whole. So to wrap up, my role is just to thank you for coming here and to appreciate you. It's a great opportunity, and I'm happy to see your faces that are here. And I will use this opportunity to extend an hands of invitation, to extend invitation to you, please, which you could know more about us so that you can get involved in what we do. We need your critical evaluation of our activities and what we can do better. And as you do, I pray God will bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bode. And next, we would like to invite up Mr. Sunday Lanre Omotosho to just come and tell us why we're here today. So let's just put our hands together as we invite him.
You are welcome to CBI. We are projecting information about places, people, community as a whole. Stay back and enjoy. It's all for you. CBI, your community information network solution.
CBI, Community Broadcast Interlink, a complete experience of web broadcasts, informative, educational, and entertaining programs about people, places, and cultures. We will broadcast your community information and events, meetings, announcements, and festivals, either live or recorded. Sit back and enjoy our programs, your programs.
CBI, your community information network solution. CBI.
Thank you very much. Chairman, Board of GVCN, Dr. Bode Ayodele, my senior partner here, Dr. Eric Churi, distinguished guest here seated. I want to thank you for being here, not just physically, but emotionally and even mentally. This conversation was inspired by these words of Martin Luther King Jr., and I quote, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter," end of quote. Today is not a debate. It is not a history class. It is not about proving who is right or wrong. It is not about who wins or loses. This conversation is about connection, not theoretical experiences. It is an open conversation about our identity, our history, our pain, our trauma, our pride, and most importantly, our collective unique potential. We are here to discuss what unites us, because unity by itself does not erase differences. It gives the strength to face the reality. We come from same roots, but have traveled different routes. Those routes have crafted the lenses through which we see the world, and sometimes how we perceive one another. So our goal here today is simple, but definitely not easy. We are here to deeply listen, speak boldly, and leave this room more connected than we entered it. We are not here to rank or rate our traumas. Neither are we here to defend stereotypes. We are here to nail the truth and fault the lies that have shaped our lives. If you feel challenged here today, it doesn't mean that something is wrong. It only means that something important is about to happen. Imagine two precious siblings, same tree, same trunk, but two different branches. The root represents Africa, the trunk represents black identity, and the branches represent our different journeys and experiences across the ocean. African Americans and traditional Africans, one shaped by slavery, segregation, and systematic generational exclusion. The other shaped by colonialism, independence struggles, and immigration or migration. Different systems, different pressures, different survival strategies. A tree does not argue with its branches. It rejoices in each branch playing its role individually together. Let me bring this rhetoric to a close. With this set of questions, which part of this tree do you mostly identify with and why? Number 2, what happens when one branch believes it matters more than the other? This is what we see every time we walk past one another. And now, my story, or this session actually, is better summarized by this video that I'm about to show us. Please watch.
A long time ago, in the land of warm waters, there lived two brothers born of the same mother. They grew up inseparable until one day one of the brothers disappeared. And no matter how hard the villagers searched, he could not be found. And then one day, in a distant land of cold winters, the daughter of one brother walked towards the daughter of the other. With every step, they drew closer, until finally they walked past each other, like masked strangers, one never noticing the other.
And there are many Africans that will sit in class next to an African American and not say one word. Not one word for the whole class. There may be two people of color in that class, one African and one African American, and they will not look at each other. For fear of what?
And then that's the blame game that I feel
no.
that. Well, let me finish.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish.
Now we see, this is what actually struck my mind, the last part of that video. You see, before they actually started the conversation, they're already arguing. So, and this is why we need to come together and see what are we really doing wrong, and how can we mend those in order to benefit from one another. Thank you so much. I hand over to the moderator.
Now, to give context, we're going through the conversation proper now, but to help us, build context and, put some guardrails. So, like I said, we don't want to relitigate our trauma one way or the other, whether systemic or whether, ancestral. But to just help us do this, I would like to call on Dr. Eric Chire to help us with that. So, Dr. Eric Chire.
All right. Thank you all for being here. So a very interesting thing. I think, let me say, if back in about 2010, even 2011, if you were to ask me about some of these issues, I don't know what I would have said. And it wasn't that, there's nothing to say, but because I was not exposed to anything. I grew up in Ghana before I came here, but prior to me coming here, I had no idea about, transatlantic slave trade. I had an idea, but I think the way I had it in colonialism, the idea was how Africans we benefited from. And oftentimes the way we were told is like, up to now, even in Ghana, we still have that in our high school syllabus, that it brought us European clothes. It made us to speak English. It's made some people to have work in offices and other kinds of stuff. So right from the beginning, I think the kinds of the orientation should have around some of these issues
were softened and we were actually made to feel like that which has caused a lot of harm is beneficial to us, right? So I came here, I mean, had no clue about a lot of the things, but my experiences after school and working in living in, different areas, segregated areas and stuff, exposed me to a lot of things that I realized I began to question a lot of stuff. So in my PhD, I began to really explore these deep, and then that was where I think I realized that yes, even though we come from the same root and the trunk that Mr. Omotoso alluded to, it's actually one of the pieces. The process were really experimented on the African soil way back. And so before America was established, they knew how everything was going to work. Now I go back to Ghana and it's like America is in my palm, right? We come here, we want to become doctors, we want to be this. Sometimes we don't understand that the ideas that we are coming to study here, the same ideas that enable slavery, both back on the continent and then here, the whole processes. So sometimes the question becomes the kinds of the epistemic materials that we are exposed to, which is like, when you are building, the tools available to you shape what kind of thing that you can build, right? And so we have been made to cherish the kinds of the thing that created the very problem we want to solve them, right? So if we know how, especially knowledge around even medicine, knowledge around wealth generations and all of those things, and how they created the very condition that we found ourselves in today. And because we don't have that understanding, we want to still deploy those knowledge to solve the problems. So it doesn't matter how good your intentions are. If your tools, the very tools that created a problem is what you're using, it's not going to do anything. And I think because of lack of exposure to some of these things, we are oblivious in a lot of ways. And that, obliviousness, lead us to all kinds of stuff. So I'm not going to say that but the work that I do around memories, collective cultural trauma, and some of the things that we have normalized as culture, you go back and you realize that even most of those things back home on the African soil that today we call our culture are actually perversions. And then here, all of those issues, but without exploring some of those memories and how they orient us to see, what we don't see, and how we think the way we think, I think we will always be doing something with good intentions, but we will end up reproducing harm, right? And so these conversations, I think, is really important for what we are coming to do. Anybody that get exposure to this context, from the work that I do, I'll show you one piece here before I go. So like I have this paper here that was recently, it was published this year in January. So and this paper, I mean, it's available online. When you have an exposure to those contexts, now this is the context that produced this paper. So here I have student from here, white student, African student, and stuff. And when we went to these spaces in Ghana, the slave dungeons, this is where some of this experimentation took place before. Whether they were white or Africans, if you read the paper, the thing they all say is the same. When you have exposure to the issues, you can't overlook it. But it also brings in memory reconstructions. It brings in a way that we begin to orient how we have been made to see the way we see. Change becomes a possibility, but it also helps us to identify the root of the issue that we are dealing with, right? And so this conversation, it's not only about any one of us here, but I think it's about the kinds of the conflict that we are not the authors, but we have been brought into. We were not part, but it affects our life on a daily basis, right? right? So how we can have this and then see way that we can work through moving forward. I think the future is really important, but the present that we live in is the accumulation of the past, and this present, if we're not able to do anything, it is projected into the future we are yet to enter. That is going to be the generations after us, and that cycle will continue. But if we're able to understand some of those issues and we do something different today, I think we will craft a different future for the generations, coming after us. So thank you, and hopefully, we will be able to, after this, move to a more practical issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Eric Chire. Now, just maybe not show of hands, but because what is happening right now, we see many African Americans probably they go to Ancestry.com, to trace. How many of you have done that here? Nobody? Oh wow. Let's know our roots. All right. And the truth is, hopefully at the end of today, there will be, opportunities, to discuss more ways where African Americans and Africans can collaborate. Because whether you like it or not, it's happening now in the music space. You see, growing up for me, before I met Jesus, I used to listen to Tupac Shakur. He was part of the people, Notorious B.I.G. They were the pop culture that came up, and we really used to listen to those people, but it's like the script is flipped now. You see LeBron James listening to Burna Boy, listening to Davido. There's just so much collaboration. Also, we see that in the entertainment space when it comes to movies. The Nollywood Hollywood collaboration. So hopefully we can, even right here, this place, talk about more opportunities where African Americans and Africans can, do much of collaboration.
And I think in addition to that also, just with the generation coming up also, there is also that awareness and the interest in also learning more about the various cultures. So I think having a platform such as this allows us to also take that to wherever we're coming from and also educate people, because sometimes it's just a little education that people need to be able to get their awareness. And we already see it in social media. We already see it in entertainment. What we wear, how we talk. There's that interest, and I hope that we meeting here today and having that conversations, we can also just spread that also to the generations currently and the generations to come, the alphas and the Gen Zs and all of that. So at this time, we will be going into our discussions with the panelists. So I would like to invite up first. Can we just have put our hands together as I invite Dr. Joseph Tucker Edmonds? Let's put our hands together.
Also, like to call sorry if I mispronounce the last name, Barrister Andrew Isede.
And next up, I would like to invite up to the stage Comrade Ade Leke Adetunji.
Then, last but not the least, Dr. Mary Woods.
Let's go.
So before we get started with our discussion today, we have some ground rules that we would like to bring up. And I'm just going to go through that. I know we have that set on the table also. The first one is we would like to ask everyone to please speak from your own experience. So use the I pronoun, not they. Listen to understand, not to respond. Discomfort is allowed, disrespect is not. No one here represents an entire group. Use of no negative words to describe anyone, race, or culture. Listen to understand, not to win. Disagreement is allowed. Again, disrespect is not. And we would like to ask that one person speak at a time. Thank you. So over to you, Dr. Victor, with our very first question.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all for coming here. Really, really appreciate that. And this question is to Dr. Woods. Ladies first. How do you define connection to Africa? Whether it's emotionally, culturally, spiritually, how would you define, explain, your own connection?
Okay. In my experience, first of all, thank you to everyone for this invitation. I believe the leadership protocol has already been established. Am I?
Yeah, right here.
I believe the leadership protocol has already been established. And to answer the question, what is my connection? My connection is identity. Having that, yes, it is spiritual, it is cultural, but it's more of an identity. I grew up in America fighting for my own identity. I grew up, I am the oldest of 9, and in the oldest of 9, we have different hues within our family, skin color hues. And we were considered biracial even though we weren't. My grandmother is biracial, but we are not. I have 2 Black African American parents. And within my own culture, there was discrimination. I did not understand that because we were all Black. But then as I grew up and I began to work in the workplace, is where I realized even more so that there is a difference between Black and white and our cultures, and even within our own cultures. It was at one point, I was a supervisor at an insurance company, and I'm also prior military. So when I returned from my deployment, I was given a team. I was supervised over, I believe it was 6 or 7 Africans. And my team pulled me together and said, you do know why you have us, don't you? And I said, no. I didn't understand. I didn't think it was a bad thing. I didn't think anything other than we were here to do a job. And I began to look around at the Snickers, and I'm thinking, what's the snickering about? I'm a supervisor. I can supervise anyone at any given time. And he said, look at your roster again. Every name on the roster were all Africans. And I said, okay, so I'm African American. What's the problem? And he said, you were giving this team to set you up for failure. And I said, I still don't understand. I still didn't understand at that moment why it was considered a failure until they began to sit me down. I mean, we did our work. As a matter of fact, we thrived within that company and we were the best department ever. However, thank you. I began to learn about the history. And one of the things that and this was in 2004, and one of the things that have always stuck with me is they said, that the American history that you learned is incorrect. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it caused me to want to study more to figure out what is considered incorrect, what is considered correct, and what happened. What actually happened, and now who am I? So yes, to answer your question, long story short, it's about identity and where do I fit in this culture. I don't have my original last name. I have a slave master's last name. I want to know what was my ancestors, what was the last name, and how do I fit into that category and into that culture.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
The next question will go to Dr. Joseph Tucker Edmonds. And one of the questions that I would like to ask you is, What has your experience interacting with African immigrants in the community, business, church, or academia been like?
Yeah. I will respond to that very quickly by just saying that my experience primarily has been that we have two distinct kind of genealogical and historical framings. And so what I always want to pull out is that what enslavement accomplished in my mind was the total destruction of ethnic identity for African Americans. So we have lost a connection to the ethnic origins or history of our relationship to the continent. And therefore, our relationship in churches, in community, in politics, then is often reduced to two things, right? It's either our shared, imagined, or constructed identity as Black folks throughout the diaspora, right? We share that identity, so that's how we connect. Or the other one is a kind of a fragmented relationship to the nation state, right? So because we don't have an ethnic identity, the way that we then usually talk about each other is, what nation are you from, right? We tend to begin to the process of, hey, I'm an American, you're Nigerian, Eric's Ghanaian, this person over here is Moroccan, right? And that is a byproduct, really, of the colonial encounter. And we see that happening over and over again. And a lot of times, I would argue that there's a little bit of sloppiness or a lack of precision when we do that, right? Because what does it mean to be Nigerian often elides or minimizes the diversity of our Nigerian brothers and sisters, right? Or the diversity of our Ghanaian brothers and sisters, in the same way that when we talk about the Black American experience, there's a very different Black American experience if you grew up on the West Coast, like my brother here, Curtis, or if you grew up in the American South, in Georgia or Mississippi, or Louisiana, right? And so part of the way that I think that we meet is around these colonial categories that we have to unpack, right? These categories of the nation state, these categories either of a shared collective identity that sometimes works, but doesn't really unpack the nuance and the complexity of our experiences. And so, in many ways, I think that there are some problems with that because it doesn't get to the diversity in any one of these spaces, right? The diversity of my African brothers, or the diversity of my Nigerian brothers, or the diversity of even my Yoruba brothers, right? And sisters, right? We often narrow that, or we simplify that too great in the same way that we do. And therefore, there's a push for more nuance, more complexity, more detail in a lot of those spaces.
This is for Comrade. Is it okay if I use Comrade? Oh,
that's fine. That's fine.
It's Comrade Adeleke. Do you believe that Africans truly understand, the African American struggle?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate that question, and I will attempt to answer it because I can't the time here will not be enough if we need to go deeply into what that means. The African American struggle we are proud of. The African American struggle we respect, but it's not over. The struggle continues, as they say. A luta continua, victoria asserta. The victory is certain. Those that put us through all this stress, they will get tired. We will never be tired. And the struggle is real. At a particular time, we almost went back to sleep because we felt we were there. But some of the things that's beginning to happen again, it puts us back to the fact that we need to awaken to the realities of life and the fact that the struggle is not over, but must continue, but must take a newer dimension whereby it's not just for African American brothers and sisters, but for us Africans as well. Recently, something happened. I belong to a group here, in my tribal group from Nigeria and also from the tribe of the tribes within. And someone was saying that, oh, these students trying to stand up for their colleagues, that they were trying to put some hours aside to say they are in support with what's happening all around. And some of our people started talking like, we are immigrants here, let's just lay low. And I had to step in and rebuke the person that mindset does not help. We are here today because of the struggle and the achievements that were achieved through our African American brothers. The peace, the relative peace, the access we have to certain things that we can even say we'll go to the ballot in November for the elections is because some people fought for that. And we have to respect that, and we have to acknowledge that, and we have to also embrace that. So I think it's about an education, and it's about background. Some of the things we see back in Africa, that both good and bad, we want to replicate the good things, and we want to find ways by which we can correct those challenging ones. So I had to put that like, look, these students are standing up for their kids, and some other schools around are doing that. And we started talking, and I said, believe me, I had just one supporter. The rest, though they knew what I was saying was right, the guy knew he was wrong, but they want to pacify him. And I felt these are the same things. We need to be able to stand up boldly to acknowledge good things. I must question things that are not going to put us in the right stead. So wherever people are standing up for each other, they are facing up against bullies. I was also talking to my kids about cases of Rosa Parks, things like that. And last Sunday in our Daily Bread, they were talking about one Cooper guy that was making fun of one lady that he now apologized 40 years later. So people know it's written in our conscience. Even those that are behaving in a certain way today, they can't be really proud of what they are doing. They are just choosing to go against conscience and humanity. God has written his rules in our hearts. It's just a question of whether we want to embrace it or not. And as we see our African American brothers do this, let's embrace that. It's become a collective struggle now. So to me, it's also about humanity, because the precedents that we set now, it won't just be for the black race, but for all races. May God help us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And the next question will go to to Barrister Andrew. And the question I would like to ask is, in what way do you feel there is a cultural connection to the African Americans? And in what way do you think that we've come to that place where there is some sort of distance also between folks?
Yeah, thank you. That's a loaded question. How do I start? Okay, so here is the thing. I think, if I've been honest, I would say I don't think there is a lot of connectivity in terms of African and the African Americans, if we want to be honest, right? Because we have different struggles, we have different understanding of what the African American brothers and sisters, what they went through. Yeah, my understanding of that is different from my background coming from Nigeria. So based on that, I would say there is disconnection on that. So we need to do better. What we need to do at this point is to learn from each other, to listen more before we judge, not to make assumptions or something like that, So it's very, very important. And one thing that always comes to my mind in achieving this is unity of purpose. We don't have the same purpose. We see ourselves as they, we, instead of us, right? If we start seeing ourselves as us, there won't be differentiation. There won't be, Andrew, I came from Nigeria, you came from Ghana or somewhere else. It's going to be Africans. And maybe instead of us making movement into other aspects, because I believe we want to make a splash in things that are big, that everybody wants to talk about, but there are silent little things that we can do. Like when you are filling out an application, like why do I need to identify as African American? Or why can't I identify as African or American or stuff like that? There are things that we can start doing systemically and strategically that can make us understand each other. This is a starting point for all of us. I really like the program and the topic. We need to get together more often like this, do things together, learn from each other. Not only the jollof rice or whatever it is, This should be educational. It should be really educational. It should be things that we can benefit from, we can learn from. For some of us, we are educated, so we can educate ourselves. We can read. We can know some of the civil struggles of our African American brothers. But for others, they just want the snippet of Instagram and what you have. So they don't go in depth, they don't learn, they don't really know what these real stories are. So I think we can do better. This is a starting point. I'm really glad that we're having this discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sure, you can go ahead. Just a little chime in there.
I would like to chime in on that question. I also believe it is the fallacy of what has been delivered through media and through our history. As I stated before, I was approached and I was told, your history is not correct, right? And so I just believe there are a lot of fallacies that have been displayed from both the African community and the African American community. And just like with my experience, I have now networked with the African community, and I am continuing to learn about different cultures, different ethics, different methods and concepts within the African community that is helping me to bridge and tie into an us instead of a we or they or them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. Just to piggyback, just in continuation of what you just said, some of those things are systemic.
It is.
Yeah.
Then the question now is, how can we either leverage the system to bridge that gap?
Education.
Yeah, I'll just let you know, take it from there.
Education. I'm a teacher all the way around. I teach at University of Indianapolis. I teach at Northwest Middle School.
Go Greyhounds.
Yeah. I also teach at times for School of Ministry, and I just believe that everything alludes to education. Yeah. But you have to have an open mind. I can teach all day long, but if my students do not have an open mind, they're not going to learn. And so I have to find a way to engage my students and probe them into a topic where they would want to learn. And if we continue to have programs where we're educating and enticing our students, this is where we begin to need the knowledge of our students and the want and the desire to understand both communities.
And I would add to that because I think it's about curiosity, right? Yes. And I think that the one thing that's so amazing, and I love, we all love Ryan Coogler. And the reason I love Ryan Coogler is not only because he makes great films like The Black Panther that we've seen, but if you watch the last film, Sinners, the thing that is so powerful about Sinners is that it is making the exact thesis that we are talking about today, that African American culture and African culture are not as far apart as it has been kind of produced or thought about or imagined in our historical or cultural consciousness. We have always had a sense of the African roots that have made up African American culture, right? If you watch Sinners, the way that we worked with medicine and herbs and the cultural and religious traditions, those were things that we took wholesale from our African ancestors and African brothers and sisters here in this continent. And so I think that it's important that we do education, but we've got to be creative about it, right? We've got to do it in the form where we are bringing it to people in ways that they can digest it, that is accessible, that it is engaging in a way. Something like Sinners, where you're seeing this whole movie that's doing a lot of things, but at the core of it, it is telling us that we are far more connected than we are separate as a part of our African culture, as a part of the ways that has bled into every aspect of how we think, dance, teach, and work together. And so someone like Ryan Coogler doing that, and even in a way, with something like Black Panther, that's an imaginative telling. But what does that do is that forces us to ask the question. We know Wakanda is not an actual African country, but it asks our young folks to think about what are the actual African countries? What are the rituals that are happening there? What are the contributions that African continents, African countries, and African civilizations made to the larger world order? And that's important, right? Because that is what leads to us not walking by each other, but actually stopping and talking to one another and realizing those deep and really, resounding connections that we have.
And not to kind of overbeat this particular question, but why my own understanding of this, or what I wanted to say to this is, we should learn how to ask questions. Why?
Right.
Why? If you read something, don't believe it. Always ask why. Why is this happening? Why did they say this? Is there another way of thinking about a particular situation, problem, or what have you? Why do I need to take your solution as the best solution? Why do I need to use your idea as the best idea? If you start asking those questions, why, you will arrive at a similar answer or something totally different. So we should educate our youth, our younger ones, our kids, to always ask questions. Why do I need to do what you asked me to do? Not in a disrespectful way, but you can ask that question over and over and over and over again. You can never go wrong when you ask, why am I doing this? Why do I need to do it? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have another pivot to the discussion we have right now, and that's with the media space, right?
Yeah.
And especially with this generation and generations to come, we know how important the media space would be. And Dr. Woods, you did mention something about even in the African American culture, you also still have that diversity.
Yes.
Because I remember even in school, you have your light skin, your dark skin, so this different. And in the African community also, we also have that. You're from Nigeria, you're from Benin, we're different. How would you say that the media is played into this notion to bring some sort of division even within our culture? And also, is there any way we can merge or leverage the media going forward to make sure that the narrative that is out there is something that is actually bringing togetherness, bringing unity, rather than putting the division between us?
Okay. Media, I stated earlier, the fallacies of the media. Media to the African American community, we were always shown images, movies, and pictures of Africa being poor, living in huts, of bony bodies with big stomachs, big heads, to have us to be shameful or don't want to be identified with Africans. In the same token, and I can only speak from an experience of what was told to me, the media has shown African Americans or a Black culture as lazy, dumb. There's always heavy crime in the area. They don't care. It's always been something negative. never anything positive shown on both ends. And so if you're constantly seeing that, your mind is being conditioned that Africans is this way, African Americans is this way. And so early on, we were taught that Africans don't like African Americans. And then when our name changed to being Black, we were told that that was upsetting because we didn't want to be identified as African. And that's the biggest fallacy ever. But the media has portrayed this. And when the media begins to portray what they want you to know, it is a foundation of conditioning the mind. It is a strategy to keep the African community and the African American community oppressed. More importantly, the African American community, based off of all of the tenets from the slavery period. I wasn't born in slavery, but yet all of those tenets have followed me all of my life because of who I am. And our forefathers and our grandmothers and my great-grandmothers, they were all conditioned in a certain way based on the fallacy of the media. Again, how can we break this? How can we break through the fallacies of the media? Is to have programs such as this, to be able to have information, be able to teach our children going forward. Because I think you stated earlier, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name already,
Joseph.
but Joseph,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joseph. You stated earlier, it's in the music, it's in the dance, and I had a discussion with one of my friends, and I said, our students really don't understand why they are picking up different dye colors or wanting to dress a certain way. They don't understand why they're doing it. And it's because it's an innate feeling within themselves. They haven't been taught it. They haven't been taught anything about the African community, not where I teach at IPS IPS schools. They have not been taught that. But yet they are tapping into their inner spirits, and it's coming out, but yet it's misunderstood because they don't understand it themselves. But yet they are tapping into it. But if we can educate them and say, do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Do you know why you're dyeing your hair a certain color? Do you know why you're dressing this way? Every now and again, I will take about 5 or 10 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes out of my class. There are times where a student will ask a question, and I will take that time, and I'm like, okay, let's close the doors, pull the shades, and let's lock up, because we're about to have a heart-to-heart conversation. And I educate them on the truth and why their inner spirit is surfacing, because they don't understand, they don't know. But if we have programs where we're educating them, and when I say them, my students, when we're educating our students, educating the community, educating one another, I feel that we will begin to bridge the gap and come together. Let's let go of who like us, who don't, the fallacies of the media. Let's forget about it. Because we know that all of those fallacies were strategies to keep the African American people oppressed. It's just part of that recipe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And after this, we'll open, floor so that, we all can also have, opportunity to contribute to this conversation. Are we all, gaining something so far? Yeah. Awesome. Now, Comfort, the question now is, where, apart from the education space, entertainment, what other opportunities can we, African Americans and Africans, collaborate, share the story?
Thank you. Wow. Thanks for that question. In fact, you just tapped into some of the things I was thinking as I was listening to everyone. Opportunities abound everywhere. It is a function of where you want to start, how you want to engage, and what drives you to do things. What's your purpose? The beginning of this is we need to begin to love one another. We need to be able to forgive one another. You know, there are stereotypes, there are biases already, and we have to make a conscious effort to reverse that trend. And that begins with us knowing that we might have hurt each other in the past, we might have misunderstood each other in the past, but as we move forward, let's embrace one another. Let's make it a collective identity whereby your success is my success, your challenges are mine, your struggles are mine, your success is my struggle. And I say this with a very proud sense of heart that I wouldn't be where I am today without the major contributions of African Americans in my life. And I'm so grateful. And that's why maybe the way I see some of this, I'm almost like as if I'm a tribe of African Americans, so whatever we can call it. Because when I want to feel a form, I don't see traditional African there. We just see, are you black? Are you the next, are you African? So we are one. Whether we want to begin to separate ourselves or not, it's not worth it. It doesn't even make sense. Because we are from the same roots, like we've just read. And I've just found my sister. I was lost but now found. They found me. I found my sister. They found my brother. So let's embrace the fact that we found each other in whatever environment that we find ourselves. So that love is paramount. And we need to... I was looking at the fact that the African culture is established in something that's been said clearly from South Africa, the Ubuntu culture. I am because we are. So whatever I am today is because of the collective understanding, the culture and the values that we have. So I can't live in isolation. So whatever way people value me or look at me is based on the collective way they've seen us. And what tends to happen is that we want to distinguish ourselves. Like, oh, I'm not this person. Whereas we are the same thing. I don't want to use the word others. To some people that may not look exactly like us, they just see us as the same. So why are we making it so hard to separate ourselves? And the more we accept each other, the more we begin to love each other more and forgive one another more, even if we hurt each other because of the backgrounds we've had, let us begin to make those amends. Yes. Imbibe that Ubuntu culture and also begin to do business amongst ourselves. I like what my sister just said, the networking, the facilitation, because what's actually making us in this, there might be the physical slavery, but there is also the economic slavery. And I was telling someone the denomination is that some people created money and they are controlling money and they are using it to play other people in the world. It's not supposed to be. We see what's happening now about trade in the world. And I was talking about actually one sister of ours, Professor Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala, is the director, DG of World Trade Organization. And I know she's also African and American, a collective identity. But with what is happening in the world, we must be able to talk truly. People see me travel a lot. I go to Africa all the time. I'm in South Africa like 4 times a year. I'm in Morocco all the time. I was at Davos recently. And I'm like, what am I doing in Davos? I just flew to Marrakesh and came back within 2 days. And I'm like, I just always want to feel Africa. And I want us to have that collective knowledge of the fact that even though there might be some differences, but the mind should be together. The effort should be one. There must be that collective understanding, and we must keep our eyes on the prize. And that prize is the success, the wealth, and the victory of the African struggle. Thank you.
Sorry, just to add to what Comrade Adeleke just said. I believe we need what is called cultural reorientation of the African mind, right? We talk about colonialism. It's not physical. It's mental. It's a mindset. If you don't reorientate yourself in a good way, it will live with you forever and ever and ever. We need to start seeing ourselves as kings and queens. We need to start seeing ourselves as people that are worthy of who we say we are, right? You see black people like me, you have black shiny skin, and you don't like it enough, right? It's all about the mindset. It's all about the mental state where we are. We think, I'm bored, I love it, right? Some people want to grow. Maybe I don't like it, but but I grew into it, right?
Yeah.
And I love it, and I embrace it, right? So I usually tell people one thing, that you don't choose where you are born. You don't choose that. So what do you have to do? You can't change it. You can't do anything about it. So control the controllables and leave what you cannot control. That's the way you live life. That's the way we need to orientate our people. We need to let them know you are worthy. You are okay. Being black is nothing. My first experience in the US was in a professional setting, right? So I started this new job and I was like, okay, yeah, it's a job. I've done, so many meetings and everything before. So at the meeting, I raised up my hand and I speak out. I spoke out like, hey, my opinion. After the meeting, someone came to me and said, oh, you are so bold. I said, what do you mean? I was just making my opinion known and everything. He said, people like us don't talk out like that. Are you not? You have an accent. Don't you think they might not understand you? I said, oh, God. I said, I think I speak good enough English that there are people from other parts of the world, leaders that don't speak English, but they still communicate to the world. I said, so why will I be ashamed of speaking English that is not super correct? Or, there is beauty in making mistakes because you will have opportunity to correct it. So it's all good for us to know who we are and embrace who we are. So we need reorientation of the African mind. Thank you.
Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that. I think before we open it up for comments from the audience, I would also just like to add to that is that we need to start using the act of storytelling also.
Yes.
Especially in this age and time, right? We see how much the kids are on social media.
Yes.
We need to start empowering them even at a very young age, letting them know their identity.
Yes.
So that way when they go outside, they already have something inside them
Yes.
to let them know where they're coming from. So I think even if we go into, or one of the questions I would like to open up to everyone is, here in Indianapolis, in Indiana,
Yes.
how can we start doing that,
exactly.
even as an individual, in your community, in your neighborhood? How can you start building on that act of storytelling?
Yes.
Even in your kids' schools, how do you go there and embrace the culture of where you're coming from, where you're not shying away from it? So I'd like to open that up to...
And I just want to say one thing, like that, I totally agree with that, and I want to encourage folks, have you all seen the documentary Descendant? Have y'all seen that? It's about Zora Neale Hurston's book called Barracoon. This is everybody, this is done by the Obama's Higher Ground production company. It's about the Africa town in Mobile, Alabama. everybody go watch it. Like, go watch it on Netflix tonight. I'm not promoting Netflix, but I'm promoting this documentary because it's about storytelling and it's about being like, what we need to do. And I agree with, my brother barrister here is we have got to tell folks that like being black is not an embarrassment. It is not a shame. And if we're struggling with that history, we got work to do. And part of telling that story over and over again is eroding that myth or that lie that still exists out there. The story covers over again. And that's what Zora Neale Hurston, when she wrote the book Barracoon in 1927, they wouldn't even let her publish the book about the African presence in Mobile, Alabama, because they didn't want people to have pride and a truth and history that the fact that these folks from Benin, from Dahomey, were here in America, had shaped and transformed our culture. They want us to erase it. But when we tell the story, right, we push back against their lie and make sure that our truth sits at the center of the conversation. And that makes all the difference in terms of who we are and who we can be. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Now that the floor is open, yes, ma'am. Do we need the microphone to go around?
I'm thankful, but I found it astounding that I had not learned about the great inventions, the patents, the legal patents, not just somebody inventing something, but they were legally patented. The things that we are all benefiting from, the lights, the street lights, etc. I believe that we can teach, and I found it astounding. I was actually angry that I had never learned this in school. Yeah. I learned about George Washington and all the presidents and all that, but I didn't learn about all the wonderful things that African Americans, but this comes from Africa. It's African minds.
That's right. That's right.
So I just want to say that we probably might encourage students or people if we brought this out. Yeah. If we tell young people, I'm sure that they're not learning these things, so that they can say, I can do also, because I know that my ancestors did it. Right. Even in all the situations that they were in, that they weren't recognized for doing these things. So I'm just throwing that out to you.
Yeah, first I want to thank my brother Sunday for inviting me. I really enjoyed this. This is wonderful. Just a couple of things I'll mention. I love what I heard so far. I can't even put a description to it, but one of the things I wanted to address, something that Dr. Woods, am I getting your name right, mentioned is, and I have heard too that some of the Africans may not like African Americans. I have not experienced it, right? I have not experienced it at all. But I've heard it a couple of times, and I want to acknowledge it, not in a bad way. I want to say that if that is true, if anyone, any African ever felt that way, I would like to know constructively how, is there anything that we do say or a way we live that it may be repulsive that I will humbly listen, and maybe pass the word. I would like to know, maybe there is some offense that's there that's real. I just have not experienced it myself, so thank you.
I'm really, really happy to be here. I'm happy we're having this conversation. We've had so many concepts being mentioned, but one thing I've not seen anybody mention is respect.
That's important.
Because that is something that you can't have. You can't have love without it. Yeah. It doesn't mean we're all going to be the same, because we are not. That is the truth of the matter. And The other thing I've not heard is what it means to be an African. And the reason why that is important is because we're talking about being curious, we're talking about learning about each other, but how do you teach something you don't know, right? And it is important because that question is not just being put to, African Americans, it's also being put to Africans. If you have a conversation with the average African these days, you can't even get a good understanding of what it means to be an African. And the reason that I've seen for that is not to use negative words, but to use it as a factual concept, which is ignorance. And this ignorance is intentional, okay? When people try to colonize you and enslave you, the first thing they go for is your mind, right? They make you hate yourself, they make you hate your culture, they make you hate your history.
Yeah.
So, when certain religions were introduced to the African mind, the goal of that religion, of those teachings and introduction, is to assert superiority. Okay? Because if you agree with a man that his forefathers has a better conception of the divine, better than your forefathers, then you can't look that man in the eyes and say, I'm equal to you. So the starting point of many Africans today is from a starting point of inferiority. And you see it everywhere, okay? When you read, I'm going to use the Christian religion as an example because obviously that is one of the major ones. When you read the Yoruba Bible, and you see the way certain concepts translated from Roman cultures, and then how they pick different divinities in Yoruba language and Yoruba culture to represent those divinities. And then if you have a good understanding, a rudimentary understanding of what that divinity or concept means in Yoruba cosmology, then you ask yourself, no, it's not the same. I'll give an example. Eshu. Okay? So if you see the way the concept of Eshu is a Yoruba divinity. If you see the way the concept of Eshu is translated into the Yoruba Bible, and you have a rudimentary understanding of that, what that concept means in Yoruba culture, is not the same. And it is so done so that Yoruba people would not have a good understanding of what Eshu is. And you watch Yoruba movies, traditional Yoruba movies, and you still won't get it. Okay? The other part of it is history. A man that does not know his own history will repeat it. There's no other way to say it. So you speak with a lot of Yoruba people, you speak with a lot of Nigerians, and you ask them something as recent as the Yoruba Civil War. And there's no shared understanding of it. You know why? Because in Nigeria today, you can't learn Nigerian history in high school. You have to be a student of history in college, or you have to take college electives to learn Nigerian history. And this is something that should have started to be taught to people right from when they are developing their concept and they are developing their sense of identity. So, I'm going to challenge everybody here today. Okay? Let's go back. When we go back home today, especially Africans here, when we go back home today, let us try to learn one thing or the other about Yoruba tradition. Learn about the Akure people. Learn about the Ondo people. Learn about Igbos. Okay? Because when you look at Twitter these days and you see the way the average Yoruba man talks to the average Igbo person, you're like, what's going on? And then when the Igbo person wants to talk back, you're like, oh, wait a minute. What's all of this? These are things that did not just start with colonialism. They are ways that Africans have always interacted with each other. The truth of the matter is that the average black man hates himself and hates his fellow black man. If this was not true, when Europe came to Africa, Africa would not have just been able to defend themselves. They would have been able to defend themselves and also lay siege on the entire European continent. When Europe came, they didn't love each other. They were fighting among themselves. But when they looked at Africa, they saw the importance of sharing. So they went back to Berlin, sat down, and shared African among themselves as if it was theirs to start with. And that is some like each other, and we probably don't have the same goal, but in this specific instance, it is in our best interest to not fight among ourselves, but to work together against a common enemy, and then when that war is won, we can come back to fighting. Yes. That is the only thing that people of European extraction or origin ask over Africans. They know when not to fight each other. They're very, very small. There's not a lot of them. And as huge as the black man population is on earth, that is something we don't have. And that is something we have to work towards. It's not about loving each other. Love is a concept, but it's mostly abstract. It's about respecting each other and being factual about what the situation is, okay? Understanding that we're not always going to agree with each other, and then being able to be intentional about telling our stories, and also when do we come together and work together. Thank you.
I think you asked us some questions and you answered half of it already. Wonderful. You made our job super easy. So that's good. So, well, when I started today, I mentioned unity of purpose, right? That is a very paramount thing, where to start all of this from. There has to be unification of purpose, right? If there is no unity of purpose, you will be heading in different directions, right? Goals will not be aligned. People will want to win over each other. But if there is unity of purpose, we will be fighting towards common goals. I won't use the word fighting common enemies. Our enemies might be different. We might have different, that's subjective, but we will have the same goal. The same goal is this. We want people to see Africans as Africans and respect us for who we are as Africans. So if we understand that and we fight towards that goal, and we have unity of purpose, we will arrive at the same destination. Even if we follow different paths, we will arrive at the same destination. And to address my brother's question, I don't think that statement is totally correct. And I will not say it's not true also. I've heard people say that or something. And I can turn it around and say, African Americans don't like Africans. So it can be both ways if you look at it, right? Because it can be that, and I think it's a small mindset kind of thinking, right? Like I said, we don't understand each other's struggle. We don't understand where Africans are coming from, people that came from Africa to the United States. And we don't understand the struggles of our African American brothers and sisters. So this is where education has to play a vital role. Some of us can read, we can understand it, we can ask questions, we can listen. But a lot of people don't do the listening, they don't ask questions. They just believe what their neighbor, their sisters, their brother, their father, mother told them. So education will make that go away in a way. I think we love each other. I think we love each other or like each other the way people like each other. You fight, you struggle, you come back together. We intermarried, we married our African American sisters. We love them, you know. So that by itself should put that to rest. Even within Africans, we fight ourselves also, right? So it's normal for that to happen. So what we need, instead of dwelling on that, is to think about educating our people on the struggles of African Americans and the African descent people. Because we are all Africans. It's just nomenclature, and they just colorize it with African American and everything. Yeah, thank you.
I would like to address Mother Paula's statement. The curriculum in our schools, they are standardized and they are carved out through a systematically. There is so much information that can be taught within our grade schools, and when I say grade schools, K through 12. Currently, we can no longer teach social studies in our schools. About 2 years ago, the system eradicated the course named Social Studies and History out of the curriculum. It is now called Social Societies. And that's because our history included a portion of slavery. And the statement and the reason behind it is so that our Caucasian students are inferior to the information that is said in our social studies. So it's been eradicated out of our curriculum. Now, to get that information, you have to go to college to get social studies, U.S. history, African American history, African history, or any other type of history that you want. You have to get it from an academia university level versus a K through 12. And if we're not careful, that also will be eradicated from the curriculum. And this is why you have students, both Caucasian, actually of any race, Caucasian, Africans, African Americans, that when they learn the true history, much like I did, I was an adult, I was grown when I learned that our history was a fallacy or it was tainted, right? It made me angry, but I did not go to our schools and start a mass shooting. This is why you have mass shootings. It's because a lot of our students are starting to learn the truth, and they're going back to mom and dad and grandparents and asking the question, why have we been lied to all these years? They don't know how to handle it, right? And so I agree with you. There was a certain time in life where I learned a lot of our inventors were African Americans, Black people, Africans, right? Christopher Columbus did not discover America. I don't care how we learned it in our history, he did not discover America. America was already here. We had indigenous people already in the Americas before it was actually called the United States. We already had indigenous. There were 4 groups of indigenous people: Africans, what we call them Latinos, but Hispanics, Asians, and what we call today Native Americans, which were Indians. 4 groups of indigenous people. But they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that there were Africans already here in the Americas. They're going to allude that the indigenous people were strictly Native Americans, and that's not so. It's not so. So we no longer teach the Trail of Tears because we don't want other students intimidated of what happened on the Trail of Tears. How did they land? How did the people land the land? They're not going to tell you that the Europeans came over as servitude, served 7 years, and then received a basket of food, a muskrat, to go kill for their land. They're not going to tell you that. Yeah. So yes, I agree with you. Inventions, parts of our history, a lot of it has been erased. A lot of it has been brushed over. And they're only going to tell you what they want you to know. The rest is up for you to receive and gain on your own.
Thank you, everyone. I'm glad everyone is sharing their perspectives, and I know sometimes we would agree on some things, sometimes we might look at it from different perspectives, but at the end of the day, what we want is that whatever we get out of here is to further the cause and to advance, to provide advancement. It's not like we are just talking and having a fun time sharing big grammars, and but at the end of the day, does it advance our cause and does it make us more united, and how does that impact our families and our greater society? Looking at the video that was shared, how we've rediscovered ourselves, and when I look at the word same route, different routes, I feel that do we need to take this higher to another level? We are doing this within the context of the Black History Month, and I'm glad that we are able to bring our diversity in. From time to time, there will be challenges to us. Some of the things that we taught give us opportunity to learn. When some people, just like Dr. Wood said, don't start feeling comfortable and they think they are in a position of power to eliminate, they make that move. How can we regroup to ensure that we are still teaching the right history to our kids? My very brother here, Bishop Eze, we will talk about our collective understanding of our societies and the way I would love to speak his language as much as he speaks my language fluently. So, and being able to see each other. Recently, for example, I started a media company in Nigeria. It's called Africa Presents. We are about to launch in about 2 months, so there's a lot of, because I want us to present our stories. I want us to, the current generation, to also be those that will tell those stories based on what they've learned. It's not just going to be from us. Sometimes I'm learning from my kids. I will ask them, because I want to see how much they are assimilating that. How are we able to then transfer this to the next generation that will carry the banner and be able to even do more than we have been able to do? I see some of the struggles we have as part of, we are still trying to break down barriers. But is it possible that as we break down some of those barriers, we are empowering the next generation to be able to do much better than we have done, and being able to liberate themselves from whatever is holding us back in this generation? So then creating those opportunities for them. Some of what I like is the fact that there is that collective heart unity now, like in the music, entertainment has been said. What about travel? What about invention? I was watching the news yesterday. There's one guy from Botswana. I do go to Botswana often because I've been trying to build some companies there too. But how could we begin to invest in each other, do business with each other, trade, international trade, or routes along along our routes? How could we go back to motherland Africa and start doing business and make things easier for ourselves? I see cases where people try. Sometimes people fail, but we must not lose hope. We must try to see how we can correct those mistakes and make things better. So, and a significant part of that is also having political power, because this is very important. No matter how much we think, if we have that power to also be able to challenge whatever is obstructing us. The legal power, the framework, the knowledge, and the education to be able to know the basis by which we can empower ourselves to be the better version of what we want to be, lived in the lives of our children and the generations that are coming behind us. So let's make that effort across generations to make sure that we are putting the right things in place for the next generation to be able to flourish than we currently do. Thank you.
Sorry, I know I've talked too much today. I don't know why. It just keeps coming to my mind, like, and if I have it up here, I like to say it sometimes. So some of my brothers, like Bishop Eze, will say, oh, I know he talks too much. Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. So we all have what we call unconscious biases, right? Whether you like it or not, you have it. Against your brother, your sister, someone you work with, someone. So the ability to separate yourself from those biases is what makes you different. It kind of illuminates your ways. Sometimes you stand in your own way in terms of growth, sometimes also. Because you think talking to an African American brother in a way that you should talk to him or sister that will pave those ways for you, and because of your biases, you refuse to actually use that person as a mentor or as someone that you can actually talk to. So we need to actually drop those biases that we came with. It's both ways for all Africans, you know what I mean? So it's not a thing with our people from the motherland or people over here as African American. So we need to do that. And we need to learn to say sorry when we actually did something wrong to someone. We don't say enough sorry. We just move on. We like deal with it or something. Learn to say sorry. So we offend each other in different ways, right? Like the word accent comes around often, right? In my own estimation, it has a generality to it, right? That means an African American have accent. A Ghanaian American have accent. A Nigerian American have accent. So if we all do, what do we need to do? We just need to listen more, right? And accommodate each other. It doesn't have to be, oh, what? Because I don't think I can change the way I talk for nobody. If you don't accept me the way I talk, that means we don't have to do business. That means you don't need me. That means you don't understand that there is power in differences. That I don't have to be you, and you don't have to be me. You need to give me space to be unique. And I need to give you that space to be unique. So we need to meet in the middle and work together. Thank you.
I think he's been raising up his hand. Oh, let's take him first. Then Mr. Fella. Then please, there'll be opportunities to ask 1 or 2 questions. We're conscious of time. We'll get you out of here 4:30. So please.
Well, I want to, let me give me a keyboard. I want to just thank whoever who put this together. Okay. Well, my culture, you respect the elders, so I didn't even know that.
Thank you.
And I'm an elder to him. I'll be 72 in July.
All right.
And I'm probably one of the first Africans around here in Indianapolis in a while.
Yeah.
I came to Indiana University 1977. And I remember arriving on campus, and I was so excited to see people like me. And somebody asked me what's happening. And I started telling them what's happening. and they walked away. Because I didn't know what was happening was a greeting. I thought they were asking me what was happening, so I was telling them the stories, and they walked away from me. But that's funny. But the key there was that in Nigeria, I did not know anything about the struggles of the black people here before I came here.
Thank you.
I did not even know who Martin Luther King was.
Yep.
And that tells you something. So when you come and somebody says, what's happening? And I remember I didn't see too many black people in Bloomington. I was wondering why. And I remember a lot of people asking me, why did you choose Indiana? First of all, Indiana is cold.
Yeah.
But all the brochures I received before coming here just showed people lying in the sun and everywhere. So I didn't know that it was cold here. So I came on campus in the fall, early fall, late summer, wearing one of those big puffy jackets, and everybody was in t-shirts. But I tell you something. It is no longer the we have to take responsibility. That's what I want to talk about today.
True.
It is no longer the responsibility of the white people to tell our history.
Thank you.
That's right.
And I'm tired of hearing the media being blamed, the white people being blamed. We are not stupid.
We are not.
We are intelligent people.
Very, very.
When black folks own media, what do we do with the media? We talk about women's butts. We talk about shaking butts.
Yeah.
We don't talk about our own history. Look at BET, when BET was owned by black folks before they sold it.
Yeah.
What did we showcase?
Okay.
How much programming did you see that talked about our culture, that talked about our achievements? And look at our leaders. Before I talk about, look at people. When our folks start making a little money, they forget their identity. Smokey Robinson says he doesn't want to be called an African American. He just wants to be called an African. He wants to be called an American, I'm sorry. See, that's what the slave masters wanted. They want you to lose your identity. We are not stupid. And I'm tired of going to events where people blame the white. You know, you see what is going on in the country. We see Nigerians in support of the man that doesn't like them.
Yeah.
We see black folks in support of the man that doesn't like them.
Yeah.
Are you guys crazy?
It's craziness.
These people don't like you. These people have told you, have taken away your history. They've removed social study. They've gone to the museums and removed everything that has to do with your history. And you still vote for them? Are you crazy? Let's be real. First of all, the Africans, you have to respect what the African Americans did.
True.
Because if it's not for them, I would not be standing here talking to you. They died. They were hung. They marched. They did everything so you and I can come here and drive a car, rent a house, prosper. Sometimes the white folks in environments where they think they can further lower the integrity of the African American have tried to use us in positions so that black Americans can feel like we are better. No, we are not. We are black. I don't care what Michael Jackson does to his nose. I don't care what Tiger Woods does. When the cop stops you, you are black. What did they do to Tiger Woods? What did they do to Isaiah Thomas in Indiana when he was coaching the Pacers? We need to live here today by taking responsibility, teaching our children the history. The young generation is completely lost. They do not know the sufferings that their parents and grandparents went through. And as Africans, we have to learn that too. My wife is African American. She started showing me things that things that if I watch it, I feel like going out to kill somebody. Of course I won't. I'm like, did they do that? Do you guys really understand what the African Americans went through for us to be able to sit here today? When you do that, responsibility going forward is to stop blaming them. It's to start taking responsibility for teaching our people, for showcasing our culture. We are not all about dance and storytelling. White folks don't tell stories. And I've seen African culture has been so minimized into, we tell stories, we dance. Every time there are drums, everybody just starts dancing. It happens among our black people. And white folks know that. If you want to capture black folk, just play music. They will all gather. We need to start using everything we've learned, what people are using against us, to know that we are smart people. Now, one last note. Every person that does not know where they come from cannot contribute to that part for where they come from. Let me give you an example. Every other country that is thriving because the people that identify with that country are going back to invest in those countries. India, China, Europe. While we're sitting here wondering if we are real Africans or not, they are prospering. They're investing there. Please, we are black people. And black people came from Africa. So therefore, we are, by deduction, Africans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I came a bit late, so my question may have been answered. I think you mentioned one of the goals is respect, but unfortunately, economic power is required for respect in this global stage. And this is evidenced by like China, right? In the 1970s, they were not as powerful the way they are now. Also the rise of places like Rwanda, right? So 2 questions. For those of us present in the USA, we mentioned that the history is being systematically tainted, right? But I don't see many K-12 private/public schools that are, I won't say segregated specifically for Africans or African Americans, right? You see it more in the Catholic, you see it more in the Jewish, but I've never seen. I mean, my knowledge may be limited, right? And by the time someone goes to college, they're not really interested in looking about history. They're going to figure out their study to make money, right? But K-12, there's still opportunity to build that. So is it that difficult to come together and do that, right? Then the second thing is for Africans who want to live in Africa. This is something I've been thinking about, and we probably won't have an answer to that today. Do we think democracy is the best form of governance for economic success of the continent? Yeah, so those are my contributions.
Okay,
I just. Oh, wait, here's one.
Oh, okay. Yes, I thank you so much, Sunday, for inviting me, but I think that's where I have arrived at. I think probably 2 years or 3 years ago, when we were all called stupid nations. We were called stupid, pretty much, by a group. We all know who that was. That it was time for us to stop looking at ourselves as their, them, they, and we as we, and become more systematic and strategic planning, whether it's through arts and culture, whether it's through economics, whether that is through business and technology, mathematics, healthcare systems. We are diversified. We have to honor our diversity within us, meaning that our skill sets, what we offer, what we're able to connect, we need to find ways to find that. I've been from Maryland to Florida, all over this country, and seen Africans and African Americans with talents, skill sets, and abilities. we have to find inroads on how do we connect each other and not reinvent every time, starting anew. Because a lot of the groundwork, I believe, is there. It's just that we don't always connect. We want to silo ourselves and say, this is what I'm doing. But maybe what you're doing and what Tim Swain, I have another friend from Ghana, is doing can connect. So that connection piece I think you all mentioned in the beginning, to me is so vital. That's why I'm here. I'm ready to connect. I'm tired of being told we don't know how to, because we do. We have and we can. We have possibilities, I believe, that have never been tapped. I've been ready for years to see this happening. I come from a place of South Carolina. I've seen so much. But I thank God that we have arrived, that we are at a place of awareness. I think that's a biblical sense time too, that we are supposed to be together for a reason. There's a purpose. And if our systems can come together, we have to write documents. We have to write systematic plans that unifies our organization of our mind. Our mind doesn't come together and our diversity doesn't work together without an organization. And a lot of times that's where we may not see ourselves, where they are already written Project 2020. And they've already implemented. And that impacts us because the very words in there were against us. So I'm ready for us to write our project. What are our statements? What are our missions? What are our goals? That doesn't mean always unified. It means that we are diverse and we honor that, and we're going to be in spaces that they told us we couldn't exist. We exist, and we take up many spaces now. We've achieved and we continue to grow. And I don't want us to look at our differences as a hindrance, but it's a beauty that we are able to actually go in that direction that we didn't have before. We have bilinguists. We have social work. My husband's a black male therapist in the state of Indiana. It's only about a handful. We've got maybe 20. And we are mental health workers. We're in healthcare, public health settings. I see many of my coworkers here. We are in multiple spaces. So how do we connect each other? And how do we make sure we continue the communication, whether that's through religion, our black churches here? We should not have this Sundays where we all separate.
Right.
Some Sundays we can come together. Our Black Expo, where is the African represented in the Black Expo?
Yeah.
There are spaces, I think, that we know, that Africans know, that we need to come together. And I'm so ready. That's all I have to say. So you use me as much as you can. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think you had
Okay,
Mr. Fenwa, had a
Fenwa,
question,
yeah.
and I think you came a little bit late because Dr. Woods also mentioned it. So I think one of your questions was, why isn't that taught in K through 12, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Black
for
schools.
schools? Okay.
I do have one answer to that, and I think that we have a program that's been historically kind of operating, what's called Freedom Schools. You all have heard of that, right? We are restarting Freedom Schools here in the city of Indianapolis. But again, the problem is, and these are schools that are designed for basically Saturday school, right? You know, we might not be able to do it, Monday through Friday. We can build that infrastructure over time. But again, the question that we're asking here is, who are we reaching out to join us at that Freedom Schools? Are we going to continue the long history of social distance between African and African Americans in our community? And that means that Freedom School becomes only for African Americans in certain neighborhoods, and then we have Yoruba language schools only for, we've got to figure out that we're going to come together, that we're going to take advantage of those spaces, and we're going to teach and work together in those spaces, collectively. They say that the design or the architecture of a caste system is to continue to put social distance between those folks who, if they were working together, could overturn the system completely. And so what they've been teaching us over and over again is social distance. They do it to us all the time. They do it through our economic status. I moved to Fishers or Carmel, so I'm not near anybody. They do it through our religious group. groups. I'm Baptist, so I don't talk to the Methodists. They do it through our, you know what I'm saying? And we've got to push back against that because social distance is the architecture of the demise of our collective strength and power. And so I'm inviting folks, and we got to reach out to every community. We should all be at Freedom School. We should all be at Yoruba Language School. We should all, you know what I'm saying? Every Saturday we should be joining together, breaking against or pushing back against that social distance, because that social distance is not benefiting us and the strategic power that we have if we are building and working and overcoming together.
Thank you. Okay. On the question of democracy or democratic government, I don't know what to say about that. But I think the best form of government is democratic government in a way, right? So you can look at it from different angles, and your argument can actually carry depending on where you're looking at it from. But if you want to really be honest with yourself, the best form of government is democratic government, where people can actually express themselves and contribute to the government. But what you need to be able to ascertain is what type of government system of government are you practicing? Do you have to practice what the Americans are practicing? Because there are different systems of government, right? So we have the unitary system, we have the federal system. Like a country like Nigeria, does the federal system of government that they are practicing right now, does it really serve the purpose of a nation like Nigeria? Do they need to go to a different system of government that can actually solve the problem of Nigeria, where state can be empowered instead of the federal government? So the question you ask, my answer to that is democratic system of government is the best, but you need to figure out which system you need to adopt, not just adopt it based on what works in another country. The different country or different states are peculiar. I think Nigeria needs to kind of look inwardly and change this system of government, and we will be better for it. We don't need the presidential federal system of government. We need a unitary kind of system where the states will be empowered. They will have equal powers in a way. Is that the unitary or something? I'm kind of rusty in my government stuff, but you get the gist, right? Thank you.
Let me talk to that. Well, thank you very much, and I'm glad that some of those feedback have been. When the foundation is destroyed, they say, "What can the righteous do?" Sometimes we must be able to protect the foundation then to ensure that it's not destroyed. Some people are attacking the foundations right now, and we must be able to push back so that they are not able to destroy those foundations, because they are looking at attacking the roots, just like we are talking about, so that when the roots are no longer there, every other thing withers. So we must be able to protect the foundation that is based on truth, because some foundations are based on lies. As we have discovered, a lot of things that I learned when I was younger, as I grew and started experiencing life and society, I begin to question, is this really true? Is this really real? And that's what we're saying, why? And by the time you go forward, even the religions and some of the things the religions teach you to begin to, before you know it, you are hating other people, even though you are trying to woo them to come and accept your religion. So it's a contradiction. And you have to start to figure out certain things and do things based on what is right as for humanity. Not because someone said this, but let's look at what's the humane part of this, not just the dogmas. And you will be able to know. On the question of democracy, I will say I've passed through some of these. I have contested politics. People will even ask me, why didn't I contest here? That your politics is more suited to the style in America because you want good things. But I see the same problem everywhere. Then I told them, what are we expressing now? What kind of democracy are we experiencing now? So is this the democracy as defined by our forefathers, as written in the Constitution and Declaration of Independence? How are we So the question is relative to time, and you can figure it out. And some of the things they've told us that were bad about others, we see them thriving more, like China. They make it like a taboo for us to say something good about other people's style of government or of doing things, because we must be able to go above that dogma and be able to free ourselves. Bob Marley will say, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
That's right.
So let's emancipate from things that they think we must say for political correctness only, because that's what makes some people feel better about themselves, even if the foundation is not premised on something right. So we must also be able to question democracy as it's being practiced, not as it's being preached. So democracy is preached in a certain way, but the reality is showing differently. And look at what Mamdani said in a few days ago. He was even quoting the Bible as a Muslim. I'm a Christian, I go to pray in the mosque. I see the things that Muhammad Ali say. I learn from others. I learn it's not about religion. It's not about those social things they used to desegregate us. And we must be able to, even as Christians, there are still segregation among sects. So I have been so much evangelical. As I grew up, I begin to question certain things myself. It's like, it doesn't seem like what these pastors are telling me is correct. What I want is my kids to respect and love one another, rather than just being, I don't want fanatics. I don't want a democratic fanatic. Let's look at things based on facts and the reality. At the end of this day, the right system of governance must be one that respects humanity and is doing everything to make the lives of everybody. It could just come from a small group of people that are gathering together and they have a good way of managing themselves. I read a lot about the Roman culture and how things came out of a lot of the corruption in the system now. The Roman system imploded from inside. We see semblance of those right now in our society, where power will do what? It will corrupt. And absolute power will do what? Corrupt absolutely. So let me stop there. It's a relative question, it's a relative answer, but in the current realities we are expressing now, we are not practicing democracy and we are not showcasing a good side of democracy, and we are not even making it look like something anybody wants to emulate. Right. We should do better and we should start correcting those. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this loud? Okay, this is good. I just want to thank everyone. I don't want to hijack the program from the moderators, but I can see that people have given the best of their patience, and they have listened so well that I don't want them to get exhausted before we allow them to leave for other things. So, because like I said, this is just starting a big thing in a very small way. We are going beyond here, and I still want them to be able to come, being sure that we will leave at the time we say we will leave. Amen. All right, so this is what I want to confirm. Now, I just want to say this, having or building confidence in who we are and the power that we carry will take us so far. Yep. Will take us so far. I remember in my first year of college back in Africa, I was coming from a very remote background, a very, if there's any English, like village background. I mean, from the village. So when I got to campus, I was trying to emulate the people that I met on campus. And one day I went to the cafeteria, and they served us bread and tea. And I looked at the bread, I looked at the tea, and I wondered in myself. I took some part of the bread, I soaked it in the tea, and somebody just beat my hand. He said, "Don't do that. This is refined community. Wow, you. I said, why will you teach me how to put food in my stomach? I mean, that is the best way I can put it. If I eat it the way you eat it, I mean, I will become constipated or whatever they call it. I mean, this is the best way. I need to soak it. You understand? So, and that time, that was when I began to gain confidence in myself that I can do things the way I want, not the way somebody asked me to do it. So we need to understand ourselves as Africans. I don't know how many of us here, as African Americans, have you attended any traditional African party? Okay, you like it? Okay, how many of Africans, traditional Africans here, have attended African Americans program like party and stuff like that? You enjoy it? So this is where I want us to cross border. I mean, to begin to socialize, to begin to interact with ourselves socially, politically, and even economically. Like they said, that if you know something that I can benefit from, you show me how to benefit from it. And this is how we can go out of this place carrying that sense of belonging, sense of collectivity together among ourselves. I know Daddy here, he has done so much in the community, and no matter how late we are, I will appreciate for us to hear a little bit from him, because he has done so much in terms of integrating the African Americans into the African community and society, and he has even gone far, as far as taking some Americans back to Africa on vacation, on visit, and all that. So if we want to, if you have any question about that, we can reach out to him, but I don't want to talk too much about that now. So I want to thank everyone. I want over back to the moderators.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe we are now at the end of this. And I think one thing I will say is, whatever you've learned here, take it out there and make it better.
That's right.
And make it better. I don't know when the next Black Expo is. I think probably from here we need a platform where we can share information.
Exactly.
So whether you're African American, something is going on, hey. And one of the ways I believe we can do that is through the churches, the Black church, African church, so we can pass out this information on what is going on. Because most people, you'll be shocked, don't know what is going on in the city.
Exactly.
Except maybe at work, somebody just say, hey, there's something going on. But besides that, so that platform where we can leverage information. Maybe CBI can help us with that, So since you guys, CBI brought us together, let's share information, It doesn't matter, let the information just go out there, and we'll see. We'll build from here, and by God's grace, we'll be stronger for it. So run for office, do what you can do. School board, we need to start them somewhere so that we can, impact, the community in our own way. Sorry, am I missing something?
Well, I guess we have one of our, what would I call it, Gen Z? No? Are you Gen Z? She has a question, so I'm gonna let her ask a question before we round up. So you can.
So I didn't actually have a question. I just had like a statement. So I'm Nigerian. Both of my parents were born and raised in Nigeria, but I was born and raised in the U.S. So I've seen the divide firsthand, and I feel like a lot of the point that we made today is that we should come together because there's like a bigger issue. But I feel like people, like, just off of observation, people tend to only come together when there is a bigger issue. Like tribalism in Nigeria, like it seems to fade when there's issues against Nigeria, and problems in Africa as a whole, like they seem to fade when there's a bigger issue. But I feel like even being in college, I'm on a dance team, basically. And they always tell us that the way you practice is the way you play. And people will see, people see on stage if you like your teammates. They can tell if you like your teammates. They can tell if you get along with your teammates. So I feel like regardless of the problems, we should come together. Outside of the problems, we should love each other regardless. That's all I wanted to say.
I grew up in Indianapolis from childhood. I was born and raised here. I'm 53 years old, and recently my family did a family ancestry, and we found out we were 40% Nigerian. So I could just remember growing up, and I used to be attracted to certain things, and I didn't know why, like certain foods, certain people, certain clothes. My father was a musician; he was the drummer, so we always had music in our family. So my growing up was very diverse. My international brotherhood started in religion, and we learned respect early on, that we respect others, because we're an international brotherhood first. If we believe in God first, God is impartial. So when we come together, our base is love. If we don't have love, we don't have anything. So learning about my background really helped me understand, because my paternal grandfather's Jamaican. So we just knew we wanted locks. We didn't know why, but we just associated our culture with Jamaicans, but not understanding the African culture associated with that Caribbean background. So, and that's just 40%. We got a whole lot of other African families. So I advise a lot of people to do their background and know who they are, because then you can kind of understand, I'm not far off from you. You're my brother, you're my sister. So when I have respect for you, I can learn from you. So one of my really good friends, she's from Senegal, and I used to be blown away that she knew 10 languages, and I felt so behind. I only took French, and I only took French because my mother did. So I hear Creole, but I don't really know what it means. I just know it sounds like French, but it's broken up. But it's just those things where you grow up and you just don't understand, I'm more than just roots. I knew I was royalty, I just didn't know why. So family, welcome. Thank you for having us today. It's a beautiful diversity of family, and I feel like I'm related to all of you.
Thank you. All right. So thank you all for coming. Before we leave, I'd like to pass it on to Dr. Eric Chire to give us, sum it all up. Then we'll wrap it up from there.
All right. Thank you. I mean, I think this has been very amazing. I didn't know where things were going to go and how it's going to end, but you just allow things to be, and it's great. I think everything that happened here, it's really amazing. But I think they have given us a lot of, things to think through moving forward. One of the things coming out here is the identity issue is a huge thing, and it's on both of us. I mean, I think it's huge. And then even if we're trying to do that, we're also seeing gatekeepers, right? Gatekeepers who don't want all of these things to happen. And like some of these things, the media, the systemic nature of the issues, they are real, right? But I think at the same time, how we move past them, right? It's not just about having these conversations and then we go away and then we leave. I mean, part of the identity issue definitely then connect to our history. And then there's issues about our mindset. I think one of the things that I have been looking into lately is, most of the time the African continent is described as low resource continent or low income. But if you look at for over 500 years that Europeans discovered this place, they've never left, right? And by their model, a capitalist will never be where they will never gain a profit. So how come if we're just low resource and things, ever since they discovered, they are always there? But we have also tended to take those narratives, that we are low resource country, low income country. But all of the wealth in the world that they make is from here. If you look at the history between 16th and the 18th century, the offshoot of the Western Europe, America, Canada, Australia, a lot of these countries were the poorest of the poor. But today they claim to be the developed world and all of these things, and we are coming in here to partake of some of those things. Even the idea of slavery, if you flip it, they saw tremendous opportunity, but they extracted it in a way that actually dispossessed the personality and the value of the humanity out of that. And that model is what is being taught in all of our universities, Harvard, everywhere. There's no any economic model outside of slavery. Nothing. I mean, even the medical practices, all of the things we do, when you go deep into it, all of the models came from slavery. But the issue is, we lived before slavery. We had memories. We had life. We knew what things ought to be before slavery. So our stories and our identities are not rooted in only slavery. Slavery disrupted what was happening in. And I think part of our identity piece is we need to go past slavery into the way some of the things were, how we were developing before slavery disrupted it. You know, now currently with the African Union, they have been talking about reparation. Reparation has been something that has been going on here. But some of these conversations, if we connect together, we can know what exactly need to be done before we can think about the nature of reparation we are thinking about. That is transnational, not from the racialized and the nation state idea issue that we're talking about, right? So now one of the things that is important is we have also been talking about these stories and other things, but it comes to the practical issues. How do we do some of these things, right? For me, I think, you know, being in the academia, I think one of the things we do a lot, I mean, we publish some of this work, we do them in things, and I can tell you, sometimes some of the work that I started doing based off of this work, sometimes I will write paper and nobody want to publish it because they don't want these stories to come out. I think I go to Ghana and I do some work. I mean, just we're out of time, but I'm going to show you something here small. I develop my own methodology and some of the work that I do, and then when it's about to be published, it becomes a challenge. Like some of these work here were, you know, this is how I'm telling some of the stories. In Ghana, we work with, this is our Ghanaian college students who don't know the history, but we go to some of those dungeons for them to feel closer to what the experience look like. And when you are in those spaces, your spirit begin to talk. Your soul is talking, your emotions. So all of your portals are open and you kind of hear the experience. And from there too, you are able to begin to also think about how we should relate, how the future should look like, right? So I go there in this work, I present the stories about America that most of them have no idea. But then we go to this space, we also are able to connect them to the realities over there. So we see that the issues are interconnected. It is not separate, them versus us. And from there, it shapes some of the way that we do some of these things. So I do these things and I want to publish, and it becomes a problem because people don't want these things to come out. But they end up being published anyways, you know. And so part of the thing also is we have to be persistent, right? And then telling the narrative also will require not just telling somebody a story. I think it's about finding ways where we gain entry point that people begin to develop practical skills out of that. And I think those are some of the ways that if we can get them, whether through movie, documentary, it has to be a process, particularly for the young ones. We don't have to impose it on them, but it has to be a bit and bit, right? We did some study here recently with African immigrant and Asian immigrant, and some of the things that the youth were telling us about the way their parents understand the context here versus their own experience and what they are going through in schools. I think it's amazing. We just published one paper from that, but I think they give us a lot of lessons to learn. Let us connect with even our children and what they're sharing. When they begin to talk about what they're experiencing in school, we don't have to dismiss them. We need to listen and know that these are issues that are going on, but how can we draw on some of this history to help empower them? Yes, the opportunities here everywhere, but the thing that I tell particular parent is if you are preparing them for an opportunity, but there are poisons attached to those opportunities, and you don't help them to know what the poison look like and how they can avoid it, how they can deal with it, they'll get the opportunity, but the poison can affect the ability to enjoy it. And that's what racism is, right? So the practical ways we do some of these things, direct conversation, and sometimes using even some of these same media stories, but then we learning the history, but it has to also go past slavery.
It does.
Right? And then the last part that I would say, which we all talk about, I think is the motive and then our mindset. I think it's so important. Like one of the things that I talk about is epistemic wealth and epistemic poverty. You know, you are poor in your mind, and when you are poor in your mind, no matter where you are, you will be poor.
Yes, that's it.
But the thing about us is that epistemically we are wealthy. So if we begin to go deep into the kinds of the epistemological framework within which our world were, being shaped before disruption through the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism, I think we will discover a lot of the wealth. I always say that when you're drinking from a well, then the only well you have not been exposed to another well, you don't know the dirt in that well. But when you begin to see another well that is clean, that's where you realize that you have been drinking too much of dirt, and going past slavery into other histories of our continent and our lives, I think expose us to a different well epistemically that we can borrow from to be able to make some of the changes that we are thinking about. So thank you, and hopefully this is just the beginning, and we will be able to have a lot more moving forward.
Thank you so much, Dr. All right, to give final remarks, I would like to call on Dr. Eze to give final remarks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very delighted to be here, and thanks to the panel. Dr. Woods, very grateful. It was very excellently presented. And Honorable, the Ambassador Adeleke, Honorable Attorney Sede, I just wanted to thank everyone that is here, from the panelists to the organizers. I'm very impressed about the whole thing. So, and of course, my elder here, who is one of the founding foundation member in this particular community. I'm grateful for all the contributions. And then what I'll just do is I'll just want to pinpoint a few things from what we've done. And before I say that, I want to thank all of my friends and my colleagues that were able to be here. My dear brother, Mr. Curtis, it's one, I thought you were going to say something, and you just been listening, and, I hope that we're going to drag you in the second time, so you're going to be in the panel, because you didn't say anything. You just, I know you're excited, you listened and everything, but I'm grateful to all of you, and my mom here, godmother. So, few points. One, integrity and respect, right? We have to respect one another. And I tell you what, this is one thing that works in everything. In the business circles, in the church, in the family, relationships. When you respect people, they will respect you, right? So we have to respect one another. And one of the ways that I've gained access into things that I've gained access into in this life is respect. You just have to respect one another. We have to stop calling names. Akata is no name. Let's get rid of it. And African Americans also, we know we're from the same root. And so stop saying, oh, you have some accent, where you from? Things like that. And they may be misinterpreted to not even mean what you really mean. You may just be excited about the accent. Like Honorable Sede said, everybody have accent, and he would not change it, regardless. So respect is a big factor not only that to gain access into anything in this life or to win any friend, but also to be able to continue with this kind of setup, right? We have to respect one another, and that's a big one. The other thing is value. Okay, if I don't feel that there's a value in coming here, that's about 3 hours, right? I mean, I got like 10 meetings today, so I have to cut off about 8 of them to be able to be here, right? Value. Anything we do, we have to make sure that we have some value in it that somebody will get. Because, it's just like a gentleman here was talking about, the culture, some certain culture. You know what I'm saying? If somebody puts something together and asks people to come and pour libation in a river, you see, I don't have no value in that. You understand what I'm saying? So I mean, no matter what, it's just like somebody will pay $500 to go and watch Beyonce, and then in the church they will pay $50. They won't even give $50. So it's all about value, right? So everything we do and everything we're going to be doing, if we don't put, yeah. I know the value here already before I came here, right? I already knew what I'm going to get from here, right? So if we're putting anything together in the future or how we're collaborating and trying to work with one another and everything, I already have people exchanging business cards. Value. Somebody spoke and somebody told me, oh, how is that person? Can I connect to the school system, whatever? I said, yeah, it's value, right? So everything we put together, like I'm just encouraging the organizers. In fact, I'm in my mind right now, even before I even leave this platform, I already have something in my mind to connect with this CBI, just to make sure we strengthen this activity because there's value in it. Yep. Yeah, there is value. That's why people are still here, right? So, but in summary, just want to, I've kind of jotted everything down just to summarize what we've done here this evening. And I want to encourage us that, because I've been to meetings where so many constructive things were talked about. And guess what? They are back again, and nothing is done, right? You can confirm that, and because it's a waste of time. Why would we even come and just get excited and have it? Everything he said here, man, I saved it recorded it in my head. They are real stuff. This is value, right? Why would we come together, spend 2 hours of all our time? I know there are millionaires here. There are people who have businesses. There are, talented people here today. And we will just end up not following up with nothing. Just get back to our system. As soon as we get into our car, that's the end of it. And that's what has happened in most meetings. Am I all right? That's right. Yeah. We can't do that. This has so much into it, right? So let me just say, distinguished leaders are put things together as I was, people were talking. For over 4 centuries, Africans on the continent and Africans in America have developed under different pressures. One of them endured colonial rule, the other endured slavery and segregations. Both endured systemic dehumanization. Yet today, we meet, whether we're in Atlanta, we're in Indianapolis, Accra, Lagos, or London, we recognize something powerful. We are not strangers. We are separated relatives. In recent years, tensions have surfaced between Africans and African Americans, debates about identity, misunderstandings about history, economic comparison, and cultural stereotypes that are amplified by social media. And these divisions are very real, but they are not original. They were engineered by systems that profited from our separation. The transatlantic slave trade fractured memory, languages, and identity. Colonialism divided Africa internally. Slavery separated Africans from Africa. What was forced apart centuries ago must now be intentionally reconnected. African Americans built civil rights foundations that benefit many African immigrants today. That's what he said. That's why we're here. That's why I can tell you thousands of benefits that have derived from just connecting with African Americans. She's there, she's there, he is there. I can mention everyone that is here today. I have derived some serious benefit from connecting with them, right? So we have to respect ourselves, and give, we give honor to who deserves the honor. The Bill Civil Rights Foundation, and I just don't want to deviate from what I've put down, that benefit many African immigrants. African preserved cultural heritage that many in diaspora now seek to rediscover. We're not competitors. We are complementary of each other. Moving forward requires 3 commitments. 1, education. And everybody said, I'm just summarizing everything. We must teach honest, nuanced history that replaces blame with understanding. 2nd, economic collaboration. Instead of comparison, let us build a joint ventures, shared investments, and cross-continental partnerships that strengthen both communities. 3rd, which is a structured dialogue, just like this. We must create safe spaces, online or offline, where difficult conversation can lead to growth and not division. Unity is not sentimental, it is strategic. When Africa and its diaspora align, our collective economic, political, and cultural influence multiplies. We were separated by ships, but we are reunited by choice. And this is a choice we're making to really, come together. So congratulations to us, and I hope everybody have the boxes of food. And that's an African taste, of course, the meat pie and the puff puffs, So I want to encourage the leadership, please. I will have some conversation with you thereafter concerning realigning some trips, because I'm organizing some African trips. I've done a few, and I really think that is good when we're talking about coming together, that we can kind of align something together. So thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it.